All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to the podcast, Football Chat and Chew. I'm Gage Axe.
I'm Justin Davis.
aka J Dog, co-host. So this is our first episode, obviously. So we're basically here just talking. You go over the games every week, get you a lot of in-depth fantasy information. I'm a gambling man, so I'll definitely be coming around with some picks for you at the end of the podcast. Definitely looking forward to entertaining, giving you guys some information, help you guys out in your fantasy leagues, hopefully make some money. Hopefully make some money on some gambling. Yeah, that's it. I mean,
It's week one. We got a lot of ups, downs, and really downs. Yeah, let's get into this.
yeah.
What game you want to talk about first?
Alright, I think the game that definitely deserves the most attention in terms of being a shocker would be the Lions-Chiefs game, personally.
Definitely.
I was definitely leaning. I didn't bet this game because it's week one and I actually barely put any bets in this week. But I was leaning Kansas City spread and actually had a feeling it was coming back towards the end. If you look, they got 14 points in the second quarter. That's pretty substantial. I cannot believe how well the Lions played. I thought they were overhyped just like they were last year. But I will say, when I watched the game, they showed up and it didn't look like a week one overexcitement. It looked like a pretty good football team altogether. I mean, even Jared Goff borderline outplayed Mahomes if you really watch the game.
And you also got the Kansas Chief O linemen that kept lining up wrong. They didn't call it the whole game. Even the announcers were circling on the screen. That was a big issue, and everybody could see it, but the referees. So that was a big issue that Chiefs actually got away with. They dealt with a lot of drops, especially Kadarius Toney, 2 very big drops. Fantasy owners, I'm sure you're upset about that because he did not get many points. I think he had 1 rush.
Yeah.
For a few yards. Yeah, so.
And as the Kansas City Chiefs, yeah, Patrick Mahomes is your star, but he's not Lamar Jackson. So if he's your lead rusher in the game, that's a red flag. So hopefully Big Red Andy Reid comes around and starts to figure some stuff out for them.
Now, Isaiah Pacheco, he looked pretty good. They just got to use him more.
Mm-hmm.
And that rookie wide receiver, Rashee Rice, he actually looked all right, too. He was making some catches that I wasn't expecting from him, so we'll see where he goes with. He might be a sleeper in fantasy, maybe a bench player that you can pick up that has a lot of upside that you don't know about. Not a lot of downside if he's a bench player, but might be a good backup.
Absolutely. All right, J-Dog. What if you had to pick a game that was most significant for Week 1? What game do you think you would pick?
Well, as a Ravens fan, I'd have to say I was not expecting the Bengals to lose to the Browns, especially in the fashion that they did. Now, the Browns have been a thorn in the Bengals' side for a very long time. Yeah, it's a struggle for Burrow to go against the Browns. He is 1 for 5 since Burrow started going against the Browns, and this was no different. He couldn't get anything going. Jamar Chase, it was the best target for him. It was a rain game, had some wind, but he ended up with 82 yards throwing.
Jamar Chase with 39 yards receiving, and this is a guy we're talking, putting up 100-yard games almost every week when he's hot. So we're hoping. He's not hoping, but Cincinnati's definitely hoping they figure this out. Like he said, the Browns are their kryptonite thorn in their side, so this might be a game where this isn't always going to be the case for Cincinnati. It might be just like, Ravens-Steelers situation where it doesn't matter what's going on, it's always a good game. I mean, this wasn't a good game, but...
Yeah, for me, they'll be back at full speed next week against the Ravens, and it's going to be a crazy game. And there's going to be a lot of points on the board, so expect them to go right back to normal next week because the Ravens and the Bengals pull the best and the worst out of each other. So expect that to change. Now, Nick Chubb, fantasy owners, they have to be happy. 18 carries, 106 yards, doing great.
Deshaun Watson's not. I was definitely disappointed in his performance.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson, I mean, he is more of a game manager than anything. Elijah Moore coming from the Jets, being upset about targets and everything, actually being the best receiver on the Browns with 3 receptions, 43 yards. But it still wasn't crazy. But it was a rain game. It was a lot of rushing. And the Browns got the job done, and in a fashion where their defensive line were just pressuring Joe Burrow constantly, forcing throws. So it was a good game, but the Browns destroyed them.
Browns aren't going to the Super Bowl though, so don't get excited, Browns fans. Sorry. I know J Dog wanted to cover the Panthers Falcons game because there's a lot of interesting stuff going on there with the rookie stuff going down. So and
Yeah.
just young players all around on that game. That was a very young, two young teams playing each other. Bryce Young's NFL debut in the regular season, obviously. It's hard to judge rookies in the NFL. I think they just have such high expectations coming out of college. So, I mean, yeah, 20 for 38. That's it's a little over 50%. 2 picks, but that's normal rookie quarterback stuff, especially when you're on the Carolina Panthers. So,
Well, I'll tell that to Anthony Richardson. He made the Colts. He made the Colts look pretty all right, actually.
and he was my starter in the fantasy this week, so I was very happy. And who was my backup? Aaron Rodgers. Me and J Dog in the group chat we're in were actually the ones talking about maybe I should start Anthony Richardson over Aaron Rodgers. He's got the feet, he's got the legs, and look what happened. So definitely glad I did that. It was definitely pure luck. I mean, sorry Nate, I definitely beat you there, buddy. So yeah.
Miles Sanders, 18 carries, 72 yards, averaging 4 yards per carry. Looks like he's picking right where he left off with the Eagles. It's not crazy, but he's a workhorse, and he's doing all right. Chuba Hubbard, I mean, 9 carries, 60 yards. Definitely looks like he has a higher upside than Miles Sanders, but that's only this week. It's Miles Sanders is a new system, so I mean we'll see how that goes. Hayden Hurst, backup tight end on fantasy for me. Five receptions, 41 yards, highest receiver on the team for the Panthers.
And the tutty.
He did great. Yeah, touchdown. He did good. Desmond Ritter he got the win. It was 24-10, but 15 for 18, 115 yards and 1 passing touchdown. They really limited him, and he didn't really do too much with the receiving. I mean, Kyle Pitts, the guy that everybody's hoped do good on fantasy, he only had 2 receptions, 44 yards. He was the highest receiving leader on their team.
He was actually on my fantasy team last year, and I didn't pick him up this year because I believe he's overrated. He did not do me good last year. But I do want to say, for a young quarterback like Desmond Ritter to only miss 3 passes is very impressive. He's obviously scanning the field. He's playing it safe, obviously. He's only averaging how many yards? He only has 150 yards in the game. So it's not like he's out there slinging the ball, but they're playing very conservative with him. They're giving him a chance to grow, and they're handing the ball off 25 times in a game. I mean, that's not even typical Atlanta football. So it's pretty cool to see. And I, as a bettor, I would say keep an eye on Desmond Ritter's passing yards as we watch him go out, because if this keeps happening, people are going to start selling low, and we're going to be able to get great value out of this player prop. And I'm not a big prop bettor, but I would definitely keep an eye on him.
Now I can't say half of his throws, 9 out of the 18 throws that he threw was to the running backs. Bijan had 6 and Aguilar had 3. Speaking of those two, they had an amazing game. Tyler Aguilar, 15 carries, 75 yards. Bijan Robinson looking like the rookie everybody said he was. 10 carries, 56 yards, 6 receptions, 27 yards. He's doing great. Bijan Robinson with one touchdown in the air. Tyler Aguilar with 2 touchdowns in the ground. Expect them to be one of the best running back duos of this season if this keeps going.
Yeah.
So we'll get into another game.
I'd like to see Bijan get a little more of the workload as time goes on, especially if I know a lot of people have that Rookie of the Year ticket on Bijan, so we'll just have to see how that goes moving forward.
Yeah, see, it's kind of good that Aguilar takes away the workhorse part of him so that he can stay fresh when he gets on the field. It helps with the burst of energy and everything when he gets on there. So I think that actually helped him, especially in his first game.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, giant upset. No one expected it. It blew my mind. I mean, great wide receivers on this team, but man, everybody's expecting them to be worst of the league. The Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield, 21 for 34, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. You have any takeaways from this?
Yeah, I dropped Aaron Rodgers and picked up Baker Mayfield because of this game. I think Baker Mayfield is slightly underrated this year in fantasy. He's starting. He's got the position. He has Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. So he has two extremely dynamic wide receivers. He has the weapons. He showed that he has the weapons. He showed he has the football IQ. The fact that he picked apart the Vikings defense. That's a lot to do for a quarterback that already has a lot going on. It's his first game of the year. You know, he's in there with a team he's never played for in the regular season. Regular season is different than preseason, always. So when I seen this performance, I forget who it was, either Baker Mayfield or Jordan Love, and I love Love, but
Love.
yes, exactly. But Mayfield, I've seen him play. I know he has what it takes. I mean, I've seen his inconsistencies, and yeah, he's a very volatile quarterback up and down, but I have more faith in him moving forward with this team than I do with Jordan Love and the Packers. I'm not saying Jordan Love isn't a great pickup or a great backup for you guys out there. I'm just saying if you had to pick between these two guys, just really think about who do I trust to consistently show up every day and give me some points. If it's Jordan Love, I wouldn't disagree with you. I think it's a matter of opinion. But that was my predicament because like we were talking about earlier, Mac Jones is not rostered very heavily, but in my league he is. So I had no choice, but that's what I had to pick after dropping Rodgers, which was an absolute waste of a draft pick. But what can we say? What can you do? I think everybody's kind of, even the Rodgers haters have to be a little disappointed in seeing him go down just because I wanted to see what the Jets were going to do this year. I was excited to see if they would make a run, you know?
Unfortunate.
Yeah, it sucks for everybody. I mean, except Zach Wilson. But who knows? Maybe he just wanted to get paid to be on the bench and hook up with his mom's friends. So.
Hey man, maybe this is the year for Zach.
I love Zach Wilson. That's what I was telling him. I watched him in BYU. He was an animal. He was a great quarterback. I would love to see that transfer, but I watched that game too, and he was making some seriously questionable reads on the field. He was eyeing down defenders and just throwing it at them, and that's what we've seen from him before, and that's why they brought in Rodgers to teach him. So hopefully Rodgers sticks around, actually puts his head in there now that he's hurt, helps develop Zach Wilson. Packers, I don't see, the team total's definitely going to change in terms of you bettors out there. So team total wins, it definitely already changed. It just sucks for anybody that locked in on that over, I forget what it was, but yeah.
Zach Wilson, I mean, he looked up to Rodgers before he came in, so there's definitely a chance. But yeah, so going back to Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans 6 receptions, 66 yards. Chris Godwin 5 receptions, 51 yards. The next receiving leader was 2 for 19. So I mean, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, go-to guys. So if you guys are getting into fantasy, good go-to guys.
Yeah, I want to know too. They're averaging 11 and 10 yards of reception. So Baker's not just throwing screens. He's moving the ball. He's sending it down the field, and he's exposing coverage. So we'll see how that moves forward against a defense that he can't expose and figure out right away. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and Vikings, we won't even have to talk about them much. Justin Jefferson, absolute monster.
Carried that team.
Kirk Cousins, great. He can throw it downfield. They both make each other better. It's not one, it's not the other, it's both of them. Kirk Cousins can get it to him. Justin Jefferson can make the play. So.
Yeah, I mean, I love Minnesota this year. I think they're a good team. And that's what that's why this is a weird one to talk about because it's week 1. Like, just because the Bills lost to the Jets doesn't mean they're not going to be in the Super Bowl.
Right.
You know what I mean? It happens. I mean, it's week 1. I mean, Dolphins Chargers, that was a shootout. Nobody probably seen that coming.
And with that Jets defense, you don't know if they're not going to be in the Super Bowl just because that defense. Mm-hmm. Defense wins championships.
It does.
So.
Yeah.
All right. Any more games you'd like to talk about?
I
see one.
Yeah, I just want to take 30 seconds to make fun of the Giants for losing 40-0 against the Cowboys as an Eagles fan. I never thought I would feel bad for the New York Giants, but wow, like to watch the ball get snapped and just everybody quit on Daniel Jones and just watch the Cowboys defense eat them alive the whole game. I almost felt bad, and you could see everybody was defeated, man. I mean, I hope to see them bounce back. We might get some value next week on the Giants. I mean, it's hard to believe with the score, but
Cowboys defense looked nasty. They were all over everything they would do. Daniel Jones got sacked 7 times. 7 times. I don't even. I lost track of how many fumbles they lost. It was a lot.
And that's your guy. That's a big money guy getting sacked 7 times. So.
Yeah. So, rough game.
Yeah.
Rough game. I just want to take a minute to say Tua, he came back. He came back with a vengeance. 466 yards. First game of the season. 28 for 45. I mean, he missed some passes, but I mean, 28 for 45. 466 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Tyreek Hill, 11 receptions for 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. He said he wanted to be a 2,000-yard receiver this year. He is a tenth of the way there.
Week
Just
1.
think about that. That's week 1. A tenth of the way. If he does this every week for 10 weeks, he'll have that.
It's hard to believe, but he is the man. I mean, and that's, if you really want to go back in time with a time machine, really think about what the Chiefs-Lions game would have looked like if Tyreek Hill was still there. That would have probably been a lot different of a game, even without Kelsey. And that's the problem with the Chiefs this year is they're very reliant on specific players.
Yeah, Chris Jones finally signed to his extension, so we should see him coming back.
Exciting.
All right.
So, I guess we can move on. Talk about some rookies. That's one thing everybody loves about week 1 is that they finally get to see their rookie players that they love do what they are supposed to do or not supposed to do.
And there were some standouts.
I just want to take a moment to thank Anthony Richardson for giving me 21 points in my fantasy league.
He won.
I won my game barely. It was probably, 2 or 3 points?
Thanks to Dak Prescott and
CeeDee Lamb
not needing to do much in that game against the Giants. He pulled off the victory.
It was a very close game, but yeah, Anthony Richardson, a lot of people just said that he was where he was based on his physicality and his size, but I think he showed a lot more than that. But he also showed that side. He's trucking defenders into the end zone for touchdowns. You see what Jalen Hurts did when he tried to tuck a defender? Boop, football gone. So that's something you got to think about. And like I got in the notes here, 3 completions between 20 to 39 yards. So this guy's not just, again, he's not Desmond Rittering it, and he's putting the ball downfield. He's finding his targets. He's moving the ball. They didn't win the game. It was a 10-point game. But the Jaguars are an underrated team this year, in my opinion. They have a lot of good talent, and I honestly think Doug Peterson is a wonderful head coach.
Calvin Ridley came back with a vengeance. That guy looks insane. He is everything everybody's been saying all off season and more. So that should be interesting. Another absolutely crazy to me wide receiver that I didn't expect to come out of nowhere and be as good as he was. Puka Nakua, wide receiver picked in the 5th round by the Rams. He stood out with the absence of Cooper Kupp. He went out there and he put up 10 receptions for 119 yards. I mean, that's hard to do. A 5th round pick. That was Matt Stafford's favorite target.
Mm-hmm. He knew what he was
and
doing.
10 receptions, but he got 15 targets. So he wanted more. It wasn't just 10 targets, 10 receptions. He wanted 15 targets from Matt Stafford, and he took in 10 of them out of the 15. That is outstanding for a 5th round rookie. So he might be a good bench guy. He might be a guy that you might want to pick up in your fantasy. So keep an eye out for him, because let's see if this becomes consistent. Because if it does, he might be the next Cooper Kupp on their team.
I'll definitely say, as the better, if you don't have Rookie of the Year for this guy, drop half a unit on this guy. I mean, he's a 5th round pick, so if he's putting up these numbers, the fact that he got drafted in the 5th round and had low expectations is definitely going to be taken into consideration when they're the board's together talking about who Rookie of the Year and they're voting and all that. So I'm probably going to drop some on this guy, honestly. Not a lot. I mean, you don't want to go all out because it's week 1, but if you can get some value on this guy now, and he shows up when Cooper Kupp's there too, or even helps him, that's a big deal for the Rookie of the Year. That's what we're talking about. So.
And it takes pressure off Cooper Kupp, so they can both make plays instead of double teaming one or the other. They have to look at both of them. So it helps the whole team.
I definitely think I was happy how Zay Flowers played for the Ravens. I mean, he didn't do anything insane as in Puka Nakua, but he was consistent. He showed up. He's averaging 8, almost 9 yards a catch, so he's moving the ball. And this is with Lamar Jackson offense, so he doesn't need to throw the ball theoretically. He can move the ball himself, but
That's why we rushed 3 touchdowns. That's why he doesn't have a touchdown, because the Ravens are predominantly running. Now with Monk in offense, things are changing. Things are changing, and things are changing fast. Lamar
For the
Jackson's
better.
still getting used to it, so that should be interesting. You could definitely see some rust from not playing the preseason from Lamar. That hopefully will be taken care of by next week, but he needs to secure the football. The fumbling issue is a problem, and it needs to be taken care of right away, because if we don't fumble, we have 40 points on the board. We failed 2 or 3 drives for fumbles.
Yep.
So another rookie that I really liked was Jahmyr Gibbs. He didn't do anything crazy. 7 carries, 42 yards, average 6 yards per carry. It's not what he did, it's how he did it. When he hit the turbo button, when he caught that ball and he started going, he was like a light on the screen. His acceleration's insane, his juking's insane, and I can't believe they didn't use him more, because he looks outstanding. He looks like he's going to be a great addition. So he is someone to watch out for, because maybe they didn't use him here, but they will use him. Be ready for it.
exactly. This is week 1, so just because he got 42 yards, I mean, they're giving him the load. He's got 7 carries, so they're not putting him on the backside. Definitely Big Daddy Jalen Carter. I mean, that's my guy, Eagles fan. He didn't. You look at the paper and it doesn't look like he did much, but that man was pushing the whole D line where it needed to go. He was where he needed to be all the time. And this is a rookie out, he's a rookie out of Georgia, so we had high expectations, but, what about Jordan Davis?
Jordan Davis, he got a fumble, right?
Yeah.
He got a fumble.
So, this whole, Philadelphia Bulldog defense thing we got going on is really good. I'm really excited for it. I love that Big Play Slay's still out there doing things. I'm not trying to get too off topic, but I do love my Eagles, so.
Big Play Slay, he looks like he's going back to a few years ago. Last year, I didn't think he looked as on point as he did in that game. He looked like he was a ball hawk in that game. So I got to give him credit.
It was beautiful. That one, I don't know if you guys seen it, but put it up deep. He wasn't even near the pass, and he cut and just got to the ball and cut it off. And that would have been a 40-plus yard catch right in the red zone. So that's the kind of stuff that when you're on defense, that's what you need to be doing for your team, and especially if you're on fantasy. You start giving up yards, not good. So just keep that in mind.
Jalen Carter didn't have a lot of production in that game. He had 1 tackle. So just because he didn't have a lot of production doesn't mean he didn't do good. He had 8 QB pressures. So 8 quarterback pressures. Those pressures are tied for the most by any player in week 1. Most for any rookie. Will Anderson Jr. on the Texans. He did great too. 6 QB pressures. And he was a 3rd overall pick. He was tied for Nick Bosa and Josh Allen from the Jags for the debut of them getting those QB pressures. So, he's looking good, and he's on a team that has struggled on defense. So he's one to look out for too.
I'm optimistic for the Texans. Maybe not this year, but they're building something. They're taking time to build something. So
some things that we learned from this week in general. 49ers look like they're picking up right where they were last year, end of regular season, going into playoffs. Brock Purdy, he's looking like a game manager. He's not someone that's going to put up 300, 400 yards every game. He's not going to put up 5 touchdowns, but he's going to manage the game. He's going to be smart with the football. You see him spreading the ball around, putting it in the hands of people that are open, and he's doing great.
We did already kind of talk about the Joe Burrow stuff, so I just want the Josh Allen, overconfident. I think he knows he can throw the ball really far down the field, and I think he just thinks that if he does that, his guys are always going to beat the defenders, and that's just not the case. He's just Hail Marying. He's basically Hail Marying balls in the zone defense, and it's, what are you asking for? These guys will have to step up on your receiver. They're gonna step up and take that ball from you. And just watching him be so careless with the football and such a, it's almost like he didn't take the Jets serious enough. And I mean, the Jets defense is the real deal this year. It is the Jets, but Garrett Wilson, all them, like.
You know what he wasn't expecting? Jordan Whitehead to fly across the field every interception. He had 3 interceptions on Josh Allen. He was one of his reception leaders. So, yeah, Jordan Whitehead.
That's hard to think about.
That was great. Especially with Sauce Gardner on the other side. That's a crazy defense.
Justin Jefferson, he didn't slow it down. He just, every year, he looks the same. He looks amazing. Dude's number 1 in the league, undisputed. I mean, Devontae Adams catches really good. Tyreek Hill catches really good. But I mean, Justin Jefferson, he does it a different way. Tyreek Hill had more yards this season or this game, but Justin Jefferson's just the most consistent wide receiver in the league. So that ain't changing.
Kirk Cousins isn't an elite quarterback by any means. He's a great quarterback, but I mean, if you compare him to young Tua right now and how Tua played last year, you know, Tyreek has somebody there that's really, but Tyreek had more stats, but Justin Jefferson gets where he needs to be. Wherever the ball's going, he gets there. It's not, but they are on the same page, so I love seeing it. I love seeing this guy just ball out every week, and it's just insane. I mean, even I got to watch him play the Eagles next week, and I'm really not looking forward to it because whether we have a great defense or not, it does not matter with this man. He does not care who you are or what your accolades are. He will show up, catch the ball, and get tutties. So just think about that.
Sad part with Aaron Rodgers. I'm just gonna bring it up one more time. That Achilles, it really got him. Jets fans were looking for a good season. They were one quarterback away from being a contender, and yeah, it's gone. So they have to rely on a good defense and a great running game. Brees Hall came back, looks amazing. Him and Dalvin Cook will be a great tandem. So there's speculation that the Jets are looking at a few older quarterbacks, and like Matt Ryan. Different quarterbacks like that, so we'll keep you posted on what's going on with that. But for now, it is the Zach Wilson experience, and let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm so burnt because I'm one of the guys that drafted Rodgers as my QB1. So it just, I mean, week 3 even it happens, but 4 plays into week 1 and my first pick of quarterback this year is gone, and I thought it was a good pick. I mean, he has the weapons. Brees Hall behind him. I mean, it would have been a great year. So it sucks. I had a lot of faith in him carrying my team, and now I have Anthony Richardson and Baker Mayfield, which is all right, but it's not Aaron Rodgers. I mean, people can hate him or whatever, but the man puts up yards.
You know who's actually looking pretty good? Patriots.
Yeah.
I mean, that defensive line. They had a rough one quarter. The rest of the game, they looked like a contender for the Eagles. So a contender for the Eagles is a contender in the playoffs. So if they keep looking like that, Mac Jones put up a good game, but their defense was all over the place. Their defensive line was pressuring. They were getting stops on crucial downs. I mean, that team looks revamped from what it was last year. Last year it looked almost dead. This year it looks ready.
This year.
Yeah, this is a good Patriots team. First time in a little while. So if Mac Jones keeps together, this might be interesting.
And this is, you know, you can say whatever, but this is Super Bowl Eagles offense we're talking about. This isn't just the Carolina Panthers. Bill Belichick's a great coach, and that's something to think about. But
and he had the whole offseason to get ready for it.
It's hard. It was hard to watch that game, even though it was a good game, because, yeah, I don't even know if it was the Eagles' offense that was slacking as much as it was just the Patriots' defense knew how to handle what they were doing. I think Belichick really studied his team, tried to understand how we rolled. Even with the new offensive coordinator, it's just he knew what he needed to do, who he needed to get in the way of. Dallas Goedert, what was it, one target, one reception? One or the other. One target all day. Dallas Goedert. This is our next Zach Ertz, who was our next Brent Selleck. So let's just talk about, those are things to think about. That's hard to do when you have a tight end. You have Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, and Dallas Goedert. And he shut down Almost all of them. I mean, A.J. Brown's going to get to the ball. Devontae Smith's going to get to the ball. But that's the thing. When they're getting to the ball, that's when Dallas Goedert shines. When we don't have that third wheel to kind of zip in there and get those clutch catches to keep the ball moving, that's exactly what happens. We get third and long, we're running the ball. And Jalen Hurts is QB sneaking and trying to truck 300-pound defensive linemen like he's freaking Najee Harris. So it was hard to watch, man, as an Eagles fan, but it was cool to see the Patriots. I'm a betting man over an Eagles fan, I always say that. So it was good to watch them really show up because I have a lot of faith in them moving forward.
Yeah, one more key points of this week I saw was I don't see Tannehill being the quarterback for the rest of the season. I think.
Really?
Yeah.
This season?
This season, I think Will Levis is going to come in. I don't know if he's going to do good. I don't know if maybe they'll pull him back out. But if he has another game, 2 games like he did this week, and their star wide receiver now, DeAndre Hopkins, I'm sure he's not happy about the game. They need to pull it together. He needs to pull it together because they got Will Levis sitting on the bench, picked in the 2nd round. I mean, he wasn't picked on the 2nd round, he's on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they got the Malik Willis sitting there too. So they got quarterback talent sitting there. You don't know if they're going to do good because they haven't really had a chance.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to have to use it if Tannehill keeps playing like this, or they're gonna tank this year. So we'll see what happens, but I don't see Tannehill staying as a starter if he continues this kind of play. So we'll jump into fantasy for the upcoming week, starting tomorrow. So tomorrow's game, we got the Vikings versus the Eagles. So be ready for all of them players. Should be interesting. So the players that struggled in week 1 that it probably could change. We'll start with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow finished the week 1 as QB 28 out of 30. Almost last.
And this is the highest paid player in NFL history, mind you. This isn't Desmond Ritter. This is Joe Burrow. And I'm a Burrow fan. I love Burrow. I think he's got swag and he's a good dude. But whatever. You know what I mean? It didn't look good. He didn't look good. He looked bothered. I don't know. Is it the calf strain? I don't know. I mean, if he was hurt, why are we letting our highest paid player ever go out there and risk re-agitating the injury for week 1?
In our defense, we all had the highest paid player at one point
this
year.
Yeah, that's right. We just kept passing the trophy down. So
yeah, so
it just happened. Yeah. Good point.
He only completed 45.5% of his pass attempts, 82 pass yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Nobody's catching the ball. No touchdowns, no interceptions. 82 pass yards. Jamar Chase was like almost 40 of them. That's the biggest. And you know what probably was the biggest shocker? Was T. Higgins didn't even have a catch. He caught 0 out of 7 targets in week 1. He still ran 36 routes. He still got targeted almost 20% of them. 0 catches. So he is targeting him. It will change. But week 1 was a little scary for looking at fantasy, and whoever had Joe Burrow or T. Higgins really struggled this week.
He got drafted ridiculously early in our league too, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like way too soon for any quarterback, but yeah. That's not a good look. I mean,
they got scared because I drafted Patrick Mahomes in 4th round. So everybody started drafting quarterbacks. So I think I scared a little everybody.
Yeah, snag Joe Burrow for him to get 82 yards.
Yeah.
Yep.
Patrick Mahomes didn't do a whole lot for me either, but he did way more than Joe Burrow did. Najee Harris. I know everybody was a little worried about him splitting reps, all of that stuff. Jalen Warren's in the backfield with him now. Najee Harris only had 6 carries on week 1, but that doesn't mean Jalen Warren's taking away the carries. Jalen Warren only received 4 carries. It was 10 carries altogether for the Pittsburgh Steelers' loss to the 49ers. And, I mean, that is tied for the fewest ever attempts in a game by the Pittsburgh Steelers during the Mike Tomlin era. Don't be scared, though. I mean, Najee Harris, he had 67% market share on the rush attempts. He averages 20 PPR points per game against the Browns, his week 2 opponent. So, I mean, it's looking good for next week, but this week was rough. So, that was definitely a struggle point.
Yeah, and stop dropping players so soon, guys. Chill out. It's week 1. I see this all over the fantasy groups and Facebook. Oh, I dropped. Chill out. It's week 1. You're going to be dropping guys already. I mean, yeah, Najee Harris. I've seen him getting dropped. He had a bad week, but guess what? It's Najee Harris. It's Mike Tomlin. Just relax. Give it another week. Everything's going to be all right. You want to go through these injuries real quick?
You want to go over your guy?
Yeah, we'll talk about Aaron Rodgers one more time just because it's everybody loves making fun of me.
I wasn't talking about that guy. I was talking about your boy Dallas Goedert.
Yeah. Oh, you want to talk about the fan? Okay. We did kind of capitalize on that, but this is the first time in the Jalen Hurts era that he had no receptions in a game, and that kind of shows that he's like I was saying, he's our wild card. Like when the defense is focused on A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, that's when Dallas Goedert steps up. But they locked him down so that there was none of that. So it was very well played.
And think about this. It's not like he wasn't out there. It's not like he wasn't ready. He played 93.4% of offensive snaps, ran 39 routes, targeted 2% of those routes. So he was there. He was running them. He was in the play. He didn't get targeted. So little scary for that. Think he'll bounce back, but they got to change that quick.
I'm worried about our offensive coordinator personally. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, so we can run through some injuries just for the fantasy sake of it. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers dropped the guy. He's gone. That's one guy you can drop. I already did. Everybody's making fun of me that night. Dude literally already dropped Aaron Rodgers. I watched his calf separate from his foot. Like, yeah, I'm dropping him. I already know what happened. I mean, Jets were withholding that for a while, but I could tell that he was done. And if he wasn't, I was going to snag him up before somebody else did. But he's gone. Anthony Richardson, the knee bruise. This is...
Both of his quarterbacks.
Yes, exactly. That's my luck. So, this isn't as bad of an injury. He has a bruised knee. He says he's insistent that he's fine. He's going to play. But here's the thing. He's young. He's cocky. He had a good week 1. So,
actually, I think that he had the best week 1 out of all rookie quarterbacks.
I think that's a good statement.
He did have the best. C.J. Stroud didn't look bad. He did good with the Texans. Don't get me wrong. But Anthony Richardson, he did great, and he doesn't even have Jonathan Taylor.
Exactly.
So, I mean, he made a Colts offense that might be slacking into a Colts offense that looked like it was scoring and was moving the ball. So.
And we saw what Carson Wentz and Matt Ryan did on the Colts, so it's pretty cool to see. My only point with this is, as my quarterback in my league, think very wisely before you start him next week. I mean, yeah, it's him. He's awesome. He's playing well. But if this knee bruise just so happens to get smacked into by a good helmet or a face mask or a cleat, he's going to get out of the game. And then guess what? It might be a Rodgers situation where it's quarter 1 and he's only got 3 points up. And then guess what? You're in the middle of a match, head-to-head with another team, and now your quarterback is not producing any points. So that's where I pick. I'm probably going to start Baker Mayfield next week, not because I think he's the better quarterback, because I don't really know Anthony Richardson, but because, especially you got money in your league, you have investments here. You have to make smart decisions based on not emotions. I mean, yeah, Anthony Richardson, I love watching him play. I drafted him for a reason. I'm not going to throw him into the mix when I have a really tight... I'm playing you next week.
Yes, he is.
So, I have a close game, and this dude's team's really good. So I'm not going to throw in a player that might get hurt. I mean, any player can get hurt. But if he has an injury on the paper in his day-to-day, just think about that when you're putting him in there. That's all I'm saying.
We'll see how his practices look on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So if his practices look good and he's back to full practicing, looking all right, then maybe go ahead and put him in. But just watch the reports. If he's on that injury report on Friday, I wouldn't even. I would just be careful. Unless you're in a 12-man league and you don't have another choice at quarterback other than him.
Yep.
I would look at him.
Yep.
So.
I want to talk about somebody that I was really excited to watch this year, J.K. Dobbins. Again. Wasn't it week 1 last year, too?
It was in preseason.
Preseason. I was excited to watch him last year. I was excited to watch him come back this year.
The year before, he got an ACL, and he was out at the beginning of the season. He came back, and then he decided to get a surgery to help fix it. Comes back, he looks healthy. Week 1. It's a reoccurring injury. It's gonna, in my opinion, it's gonna keep happening.
Yeah, it's probably his career. I mean, it sucks. I don't want to say that, but we have to be realistic here. This guy is injury prone, and he's freaking awesome. He was so good in college. I loved when the Ravens picked him up, but it just sucks to keep seeing him get hurt because I see it in him that he has the potential, but obviously his body is beat and it's taking it, and he's having a hard time dealing with it. It's week 1. I mean, how would he do through a whole season next year with all these injuries? You know, these things don't disappear. Just because he's healthy doesn't mean he's healthy. You know what I mean? So just something to think about. And say he does try to play next year, just try to think about that when you're drafting, because it's probably going to happen again.
Hashtag give the players grass.
Yes.
So we're gonna move on with Aaron Jones. He had a great game.
He was on my team last year. I wish I got him this year.
He was a monster. Great day for him. He got a hamstring injury in his left leg. He got off a 35-yard screen pass. They actually took to the house. I mean, we'll see how his injury looks. Right now he's limited, questionable. If he's not in, A.J. Dillon. I mean, he's Aaron Jones Jr. He's pretty good. So if Aaron Jones is out, A.J. Dillon's going to be the guy taking the heavy load. Even if he's coming in and still not 100%, but he's still going to play, A.J. Dillon's going to take that workload off of him. So expect A.J. Dillon to be a big factor in that game. Austin Eckler asking for money, asking for a contract, holding out. They're talking about holding out, and hurt week 1, week to week. So he has an ankle injury. I haven't really gotten an update yet, so we're waiting to see what happens, but I don't expect him this week. There's the guy behind him, Joshua Kelly, who looked pretty decent, so expect him to get more of the snaps. He looked good, so be good. Want to talk about your guy?
Yeah, Philly. Kenneth Gainwell, he's got something going on with his ribs.
He is officially out on week 2.
As an Eagles fan, I'll say I'm not that worried about that. As a fantasy owner, I'd say not very many people have Gainwell as their RB in the league anyway, so I think everybody will be okay. If you are in a big league and you do have him, definitely consider dropping him at least this week for somebody to fill that spot, because you're going to need it for sure.
Swift owners will be happy about this because
Yes.
Swift only got, 2 touches last week. So hopefully Swift will get more touches this week because of this.
Yeah, and I wanted the DeAndre Swift jersey because it's number 0, so you better freaking earn it.
Evan Null
Cool.
with the Colts.
Where's that N? Yeah, okay.
Evan Null with the Colts. He's already in a thin running back room waiting for Jonathan Taylor to make his decision. He's probably going to get traded on PUP list. He can't play anyway, but so he's already in a thin running back room. He's out with a knee injury. Deion Jackson and Jake Funk from the Colts practice squad is the only 2 healthy running backs on their team right now. So, it's thinning out. If either of them get an injury, you might see Anthony Richardson taking all of it.
I was going to say, that sounds good for us, though, Anthony Richardson owners. He's going to be holding a lot of the load, but again, with that knee injury, if he's trying to run the ball everywhere, it's not a good thing for that knee. Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, so wide receiver Deontay Johnson got a hamstring strain. He's out multiple weeks. Most wide receivers get a hamstring strain. They won't come back week 2. It's not confirmed yet that he's not going to be back week 2, but 90 times out of 10, he's not coming back. So, he might be limited for weeks 3 and 4 as well. We have to watch practice, see if he's limited, see if he's in practice, full practice. We'll see how this progresses, but for right now, I would say take him out. Don't bet on him. Don't put him in your fantasy, and just wait and see what happens.
Sucks. Jacoby Myers got a concussion. If you guys watched that play, it was a big hit.
He had a great game though.
Yeah.
He on the other side, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers was killing it. First game as a Raider, he looked great. So gotta give him credit. He will definitely be a starter, wide receiver 2, maybe 1, because of his play. So look for that concussion protocol to go away. He could pass the concussion protocol and be there on the field this week, or he could be out for a few weeks. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, so in my opinion, if you don't need to drop him, don't drop him because he was looking pretty good, and it was looking like a good game there for a little bit. I think he had a lot of potential.
Yeah, they won 1 point against the Broncos. He went across the field for a catch, right into the defender. So, Pat Fairmouth, chest contusion. He's week to week. Took a shot in the chest in the end zone. Got sandwiched by 2 49ers players. He was in and out of the game. He still played a little bit after this injury, but it's still possible to play week 2. But I would be surprised to see him miss some practice this week. So we'll see how he's feeling by the end of the week and see what Mike Tomlin's saying about it.
A lot of tight end injuries.
Yeah.
Like Greg Dulek, hamstring strain. He'll be out for a while, multiple weeks. It was an early week 1 exit. Didn't get to see much, but he's going for an MRI on Monday, and that's pretty much an indication it's going to be a pretty long ordeal. So if you have him, you might want to drop him for now.
Yeah.
Try to find somebody else to get in there because you do not want to be missing out on these points and even just risking that. You want to be the first one to snap and hop onto your free agent tight ends before somebody. We have all these tight end injuries, so there's not very many left in some leagues. So you need to get to them before other guys do.
Yeah, and this guy, I mean, if you could trade him at all and use him for trade material, do it. I mean, he has potential to be a good tight end, but the beginning of last season he was out for the same injury. Later last year in December, he went out again for the same injury, and here he is week 1 going out again. So it seems like it's going to keep happening. It's reoccurring. So expect this to happen again. Hopefully it doesn't for him, but it looks like it's going to keep happening. So
Yep.
we also have some waiver wire pickups that could really help you because of these injuries. You need somebody to come in there and take some of the workload because you have a guy that might not work as hard because of his injury. He might not even be in the game, or he might be out the season like Aaron Rodgers. So we have some people that can change that up and maybe change the dynamic of your football team. So we got Mac Jones. He's only 8% rostered in most fantasy leagues.
That's my QB1. Sorry, but if he's out there and you need somebody, don't hesitate. That's the guy you want. I obviously did not have that option, so I'm just saying. That means 92% of you guys out there have the opportunity to take this guy. So even think about QBs that aren't hurt that are on your team. Okay, maybe think about this. This guy's obviously showing up against one of the better defenses in the NFL. So.
Yeah. 35-54, 316 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. And that's with Jalen Carter in his face. Think about him going against... Who's he go against next week? Let me see here real quick. Patriots.
Dolphins.
Patriots. They're going against the Dolphins, who they're not going to have a Jalen Carter in his face. I mean, they have cornerbacks that might stop him for passing there, but the pressure's not going to be there, so he might have some time to throw the ball. Hunter Henry, he looked great. He's probably going to be a big target for them next week, so look for that too. QB Baker Mayfield. I mean, nobody expected us to be talking about this. I mean, even at the beginning half of this game on week 1, nobody was thinking about Baker Mayfield. He went 3 for 11, 12 yards until 2:39 left in the second quarter. Everybody was looking at him, and yeah, the first half.
Yeah, I read that wrong. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, so almost a half of football where he only threw 3 passes that were complete. And then afterwards, he went 18 for 23, 161 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he clicked somewhere with that. And Chris Godwin and Mike Evans
Mike Evans has been a 1,000-yard receiver no matter what QB played. Like, he can get anybody to throw the ball. It's like Brandon Cooks.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're looking at Baker Mayfield. He's not bad. Everybody gives him crap. He was in Carolina when they were rebuilding. I mean, let's give him some credit. He went into the Rams, looked kind of decent, and now he's in the Bucks, and he looks kind of decent.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you need a quarterback, he might be your go-to guy. So check him out.
Yeah, again, we're talking waiver wire here, not who's the best quarterback in the league right now. So don't think that's what we're saying. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking at just the roster, yeah, like you said, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, those are two guys that a mediocre quarterback's going to look pretty good. So I mean, I don't even think Baker's mediocre. I think he has a lot to prove, and I really hope that he shows up because I always kind of like Baker. I mean, I think people just kind of give him a lot of crap too soon. I think he's still a younger guy. He's still got enough time in the league to prove himself. But, I mean, that's a matter of opinion. But I'm telling you, if you're thinking Baker Mayfield or Mac Jones, just take Mac Jones. I didn't have that choice. I was torn between Jordan Love and Baker Mayfield. And, I mean, we could put Jordan Love on the waiver wire, but I'm not confident enough. I mean, Baker's been in the league long enough. We've seen his upside. We don't know Jordan Love's ceiling or anything, so how much are you willing to gamble in your fantasy league? That's kind of where it comes down to.
Yeah. So, another person that you could pick up. He will not be a instant impact because right now he is injured. But it's Kenneth Gainwell. He's only 47% rostered because nobody thought he was going to be the starter. Everybody thought it's Swift. Even though the Eagles were saying it's Gainwell, nobody believed them. They said it's Swift. It's Swift. Everybody picked up Swift. Swift went in our 5th round in our fantasy league. Gainwell didn't go. So, look at Gainwell as someone that you can put on your bench, and he will be the starter of the Eagles, who is a dominant run game. Not a run game by committee, but, I mean, he easily outplayed all the competition this week. His snap count was 41-19, Gainwell over Swift. I mean, he had 14 carries and 4 targets. He did great. So I mean, he's going to get a lot of the receptions. Swift is going to get involved, so expect him to get involved soon. But Gainwell is going to be the starter, and he's going to have Miles Sanders' numbers last year, so expect that too. Same with the Ravens, running back by committee, but expect Gus Edwards to take most of the snap count here soon, because J.K. Dobbins is down. Justice Hill, he's going to be like Ezekiel Elliott is for the Patriots. He's going to be the goal line guy. But Gus Edwards is going to take the workhorse role. So either of those guys, whichever one you want, they'll both have a part in the Ravens offense who are dominant run.
Yeah, if you can get Gus Edwards guys, I'd definitely think about that. Because, I mean, Dobbins out for the year, so he's going to be there, and he's only 20% rostered, so just think about that.
Right.
Last running back, Joshua Kelly of the Chargers. Even with Eckler in the game, he got 16 carries in week 1 to Eckler's 20. So, having one of the best flex running backs out there that can catch and run the ball and still getting Joshua Kelly involved, that says a lot about what this Chargers team is capable of. And like this says, with this injury that Eckler's dealing with, that could totally change how Joshua Kelly's being used, which should even make him more valuable. So just keep an eye out for him. Obviously, Puka Nacua, 23% roster. This guy's on fire right now. Like I said, that's a rookie of the year. Throw a little sauce on there. 5th round pick. Throw a little sauce on there. If you're feeling him, put him in there. He's obviously Stafford's number 1. And then the other Rams receiver, Tutu Atwell. He had 119 yards on 6 catches and got targeted 8 times.
2 119-yard receivers.
Yeah.
But he wasn't targeted as much as Puka. So, choose him first if you can. Because 15 targets to 8 targets. Puka's going to get targeted more. Tutu is making the best out of his targets, though.
Yeah, very efficient. Zay Jones, Jacksonville Jaguars. He's definitely in there. he wants the ball. He wants to be in there. He's right next to Calvin Ridley. He's hiding. He's hiding. He's not very rostered. What did it say? 20% rostered. He is 30. So yeah, 70% of you guys out there could grab this guy right now. And depending on what your wide receiver situation is looking like, it might be a great benefit. Here's the big underdog, Kendrick Bourne of the Patriots. 11 targets, 6 catches for 64 yards and 2 tutties. That's without Devontae Parker and Tyquan Thornton, and Bourne just appeared to be the guy that was getting the ball. Now, did he catch a lot? Six catches out of 11 targets. It doesn't look pretty on paper, but again, this is without those guys, those big guys. So he's gonna have to transition to this role that he might be stepping into. So just keep an eye on him. He's only 2% rostered, so you don't gotta. This guy you don't need to pounce on right away. Not very many people are on this guy yet, but just keep an eye on him. If you need to snag up somebody that's an underdog, he's gonna be there. Just take that into consideration. And this is their big. Were you gonna say something about him?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that the fact that Kendrick Bourne caught 6 of those 11 targets, some of those targets weren't even catchable. Some of those targets were smacked down by the cornerback because it was underthrown or overthrown. So don't take that he dropped 5 catches because not all of them were catchable. So take that into consideration as well. Watch some of his highlights and make a decision for yourself. But I see him as a go-to receiver if you have some receivers that are injured and you need someone to fill in the void for now.
And the ball's getting to him. That's what we're looking for in fantasy. He's getting targeted because I mean this is football.
Especially for a PPR league.
Yep, it's hot or cold, week in, week out. I mean, we're not going to get a perfect player. So if he's getting targeted, there's going to be times where he's on fire. Just wait for it. Maybe. That's what I'm saying. So this is the big one this week for the waiver wire, the tight ends. Yep. Because there's good, like I said, there's a good bit of tight end injuries for week 1 already. I think the best pick would be Hunter Henry. Five catches, 6 targets, 56 yards, and a touchdown. So that's pretty much a very comfortable tight end to have on your fantasy team. It's not Travis Kelce, but I'm telling you, if you need someone that's going to rack up some points in your tight end position, that's a good option.
If Travis Kelce isn't there, though, it's someone to get your points.
That's right. That's what you need.
Yeah. Same with Hayden Hurst. He's 11% rostered, which, coming from the Ravens, he has always been a reliable pass catcher. We only got rid of him because we have Mark Andrews. He's always been a good pass catcher. He went to the Bengals. He looked good. He was at the Ravens. He looked good. Now he's at Carolina with Bryce Young. Guess what? He looks good. So he had 5 receptions, 41 yards, and a touchdown. It's not flashy numbers. Bryce Young didn't have flashy numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But he obviously wants to target the tight end. So being that, as Bryce Young develops, so will he. So will Hayden Hurst. So expect him to get better from where he is now. So it's a good pickup.
Absolutely. I mean, this Panthers team is young, guys. So if you can snag this guy now, who knows what they're going to look like in 4 weeks playing together. I mean, they could have some chemistry. So just think about that when you're picking backups. Yeah. Definitely. All right. So I guess our last segment will just be some betting stuff. For all the bettors out there, save the best for last, gambling man.
Let me throw my 2 cents in as a very biased Ravens fan. Zay Flowers getting a touchdown this week. So be ready for that. Zay Flowers is showing up as the wide receiver 1 over Odell Beckham Jr., Rashad Bateman, Nelson Aguilar. And now we have our star running back out. Expect Zay Flowers to take a leap. Expect that he'll probably get a touchdown this week. So that's my 2 cents as a crazy bettor. He's the smart bettor, so listen to him. That's my 2 cents.
I think that's a good pick though, because you definitely made a good point there. With he's missing a lot of people, so Lamar's gonna have to do what he needs to do. And Zay Flowers, like I told you guys, he's definitely showed up.
He's all over the place too. He's catching screens in the backfield. He's catching slants in front of him, and he's going down the field and catching it. So, I mean, OBJ is probably going to be the deep threat. That's OBJ. OBJ's knocking off the rust week 1. He'll probably be back week 2. Zay Flowers, though, his cuts, his juice, his route running, his outstanding. He's all over the place. He makes the defenders just fall on their face when he's making those cuts. So he's going to get catches, and I expect him to have a touchdown this week at least one.
Yeah, I was trying to pull up the odds for that quick, but I can't find it on Action Network. Zay Flowers. These are for the season. Yeah, these are all seasonal bets. So, depending on your sports book, it's going to be different. I wasn't prepared for that, so I can't find that right now.
It's okay,
But
I just threw that on.
yeah, but that's good. I think that's a great pick, and as long as you get that at plus money, I think it'd be a safe bet for half a unit. So I made a couple bets this week. I always snag stuff up early. Hopefully we do this at a better time for future reference. This is episode 1, so we're going to try to do that earlier so we can get better value for everybody. But if I had to pick right now, if I had to tell anybody to go out and place their bet, I'm definitely leaning Baltimore plus 3.5 on the spread. They're going to visit Cincinnati. I think the public is on the side of the Sharps, and they're basically thinking that this was a choke by Cincinnati, and they're just going to come back out week 2 and just be ready to play. I don't know if the public's overreacting to J.K. Dobbins' injury. I don't know, but plus 3.5 is a really good number for the Ravens on the spread. That means they lose by a field goal. You're still winning your money, and right now at DraftKings you can get plus 3.5 at minus 115. I think Jay's going to do that right now. So it's another Ravens pick, but with where the numbers are officially as of the time of this podcast, if you can get the hook at 0.5, 3.5, I think that's the best bet of the season.
Zay Flowers plus 250.
I think those are pretty good odds considering what's going on in their roster. So just try to snag that up, because I bet other people are going to catch on to that too. Another bet that I like personally is the Detroit Lions against the Seahawks next week. I took them minus 5.5 on the spread. We're in Detroit. I think people now, when they're betting, they're almost thinking smarter, because the way these lines aren't moving is interesting. Because I think minus 5.5 is a good number to get the Lions at, I guess, especially against Seattle. Seattle's a good team, but they didn't look like Detroit. I mean, Detroit looked insane. They looked like they're ready to show up and win football games. And this is a home game. They're Motor City Dan Campbell. He's the man. So that's another one. One that I got real early on was I bet the under. It opened at 51. I got that number. It's already down to 47.5. So I wouldn't bet the 47.5. But if you got in early, I think we're gonna look good. Some of these have changed, but definitely. The last one I would say, if you can get this number as of this podcast, Green Bay Packers minus 1 in Atlanta. Like Justin was saying, Atlanta looks good, but they're still young and they're playing super conservative football. Jordan Love's been with the Packers for a couple years now. They know what they're doing. They have a plan. They have good coaches. There's things you really got to think about when you're gambling here. So I definitely think minus 1 is way too close for these two teams. I would fully expect minus 3 Green Bay, because I just think that they proved a lot more in week 1 than Atlanta did. I'm not saying Atlanta's a bad team. That's more of how you feel personally. But I definitely was thinking that there's a lot of value in minus 1 here. I mean, if Green Bay wins by a safety, you're winning money. So just think about that. And say it's a 10-9 game or a 21-20, some weird number. You have that minus 1 with the push. So just take it. And I would just say that's a good pick.
If anybody wants to run with one of my crazy parlays, I got one for the Niners. It's a money line Niners with a Christian McCaffrey touchdown. That's pretty reliable. They're going against the Rams. The Rams look all right, so the money line's a little lower than it usually would be. So take the money line for the 49ers. Their defense looks insane, and they got a 5th-round wide receiver being the best wide receiver they got right now. I don't see it happening. I like the Rams team right now, but I don't see it happening without Cooper Kupp. and Brock Purdy's playing conservative football, so he's gonna be able to game manage, and I think they're gonna pull off the win. So I would take the money line and a Christian McCaffrey touchdown as a 2-leg parlay.
I like that. Another bet I took, which I'm ashamed of, is I actually took the spread on the Vikings this week against the Eagles, unfortunately. Really early on, the Vikings were plus 7.5 underdogs. So that's a key number. If they lose by a touchdown, you're still getting your money. So I think we've seen a lot out of the Vikings. Seen the Eagles shaky. I mean, they are a shaky team. They're my favorite team. I'm a fan, but I'm not going to lie. It's one of those things where this is going to be a close football game, in my opinion. I'd be surprised if it wasn't, but it's football, so you never know.
There's one problem I have with that bet. Kirk Cousins in prime time
Yes.
and Kirk Cousins against the Eagles is not Kirk Cousins. I always worry about that. Now, Justin Jefferson, he'll be the same guy he always is. So, it all depends.
Yep.
It all depends. Justin Jefferson will have them yards. Can Kirk Cousins cover the little bit that Justin Jefferson doesn't?
Yeah, that was definitely more of a key number bet for me. 7 is a big number for these two teams. I mean, every time they play, it's a close game. I mean, the Eagles win a lot, but it's still a close game. I think 7.5 is kind of far. I was thinking more 6, but the line's already moved. That's what I was saying. It's already at plus 6.5. So yeah, it's moving. People seen this just like I did, and they're hopping on it. Another one that I got a hold of was Kansas City minus 2.5. They're already moved up to minus 3.5. So I wouldn't bet the Chiefs at this point because you're losing the value of that key number now.
Field goal.
And Jags look good. I mean, I'm not saying they're great, but this is betting here. I'm not a gambler. I'm a bettor. I try to make money, so I'm more numbers, key numbers, all that stuff. So that's just something you should look out for.
Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk are a deadly duo. That's a chance at a crazy offense against a defense that was struggling against the Lions, so they'll struggle against the Jags as well. So let's see if Chris Jones makes that impact and creates a difference.
Yeah, don't ask me how, but I got the Colts as underdogs on the money line against the Texans. That's totally not the case anymore. I got it at plus 106. They're currently sitting at minus 118. There's just no value in that bet anymore. So if I were you, I would avoid that game altogether unless you're really riding Texans.
The Texans, I don't know if it was because we run a lot, but that Texans defensive line looked pretty nasty last week too. That Will Anderson's gonna grow. He's gonna grow into a good player. You'll see it. But I don't see the Texans winning that game. I think that it's gonna be a close game. I think the Colts are gonna come out with it, and I see Michael Pittman catching a touchdown.
Keep an eye on Miami and New England. I snagged the minus 2.5 on the Dolphins. That's a good number. Again, you get the hook. But everywhere right now is at minus 3. But just look, because a lot of sharps I think are leaning Patriots on this game. So if you see the line movement gets down to 2.5 again, just snag it while you can because that's a good number. New England looked great, but so did Miami, and Tua looked great too. And it's going to be a lot harder, in my opinion, to stop Cheetah and Tua than it is to stop Eagles offense that is learning a new offensive coordinator. You know, we got different running backs. So this is a more comfortable team coming into New England. So just think about that. Definitely think about it.
Tua better use his taekwondo to fall if he gets hit by that line, because that line looked aggressive last week.
They did.
And prayers for Tua. I hope he stays healthy this whole season because I want to see what he can do.
Yeah, I love Tua. I think he's a good player. He's a good guy. Definitely hope the best for him. Pittsburgh and Cleveland, that's another game. I'm thinking the Browns spread would be a good bet. I got Cleveland at minus 115 on the money line. That's already moved to minus 125. But it's only minus 2 on the spread. This is a game that's a lot more subjective to you, though, because it's week 1. Did Cleveland just get a dud of a Bengals team and they're going to get smashed by the Steelers? Did the Steelers dud? It's one of those things where you just don't know.
I could say that defensive line of the Browns. I mean, Myles Garrett, he's a monster. He gets through. He puts pressure on that quarterback, and I don't see Kenny Pickett going through that pressure very well. He doesn't seem to do good under pressure. And if Najee Harris gets as many touches as he does last week or less, then they're going to have a rough game for the Steelers.
Another game that I've been watching that I haven't locked in on yet is the Chargers at Titans. I didn't like the number when it opened at minus 3.5 with the Chargers as favorites. It's went down to minus 3 now. I'm thinking about dabbling my feet in that because at Parks Casino right now it's minus 106. Those are pretty good odds. I'd love to see the minus 2.5. Because that's the thing. Right now I'm waiting to see where the public goes. If it moves to minus 2.5, I'd go Chargers. If it goes to plus 3.5, I don't have enough confidence in Tannehill and Tennessee to cover that spread as much as I do the Chargers. I'm just being honest.
Give us Will Levis. Come on.
Another line that moved like crazy is the 49ers Rams. This opened at 4.5 favorites for the 49ers, and now they're 8-point favorites. I would avoid that game if I were you personally. Total doesn't look, it's very, very shaky there. 45, you could lean under, but this thing, Matt Stafford's taking advantage of the wide receivers he has, so that's another thing to think about.
Now, player anytime touchdowns. Ayuk's looking great. Ayuk was killing it last week. Expect him to be in it, and Christian McCaffrey, of course. So those two guys. I mean, if you want to drop a little bit, maybe a half a unit on one of those two guys to get a touchdown, probably Christian McCaffrey, because he receives, he runs. Drop a half a unit on there because you'll probably win it. Christian McCaffrey, he's a monster, especially now that he's not the workhorse of the team.
Yeah, he's not carrying that whole team on his back. Giants are 5.5-point favorites in Arizona. That's a hard game to decide. You could either take week 1 for how it is and decide that the Giants are absolute butt, or you could decide they're going to come out with that fire in their soul. And that seems to be what the public's thinking. They opened at 4.5, and now they're 5.5. So that number's moving up. People have faith in New York. If I see that plus 6, I'm probably snagging that on the Cardinals personally. I watched the Giants play. They don't look ready. The Cardinals didn't look great either, but they look slightly more prepared than the Giants did, obviously. I would just keep that in mind. These totals this week, by the way, I'm not hitting totals for points because I don't like a lot of them. They're very low. I mean, scoring has been down in the NFL, but like 39.5, 38.5, 39. These are low totals. We're not used to this right now. So I'm just trying to see how these first 2-3 weeks go before I start dabbling in totals because we're not sure.
For me, I would hammer the under for the Cowboys-Jets game. That's going to be all defense. What's it at right now?
38.5. That's a hard one for me because it opened at 49 before the Rodgers was officially out. If you got that number at an under, salute to you. If you hit that at an over, you should probably reconsider what you're spending your money on.
Cash out.
Yeah, even if you're only getting 10 cents on your dollar, just get whatever you can. It ain't happening.
If you got CeeDee Lamb, on your fantasy, be scared. Sauce Gardner, dude is a monster. True number 1. He is a great cornerback.
Yeah, I love watching him play.
And Jordan Whitehead, I mean, you saw him picking off Josh Allen. Dak Prescott makes those throws too. So he hasn't got CeeDee Lamb. Do you think Michael Gallup or Brandon Cooks is going to make that catch, or do you think Dak's going to throw an interception? So you're very weary of that team because the Jets' defense looks monstrous this year.
Hopefully Dak throws an interception.
Zach Wilson against the Cowboys, that's going to be probably even scarier. So, yeah. I mean, though I see run game this game. I see a lot of run game.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how it goes. But Micah Parsons came out. He's in a traditional role now. So he gets to focus more on what he's doing instead of doing multiple things at once. So he's going to be better than he even was last year or the year before. So look for that Dallas defense. That Dallas defense looks really good. So it looks nasty. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. So last game, Washington and Denver. The line opened at under 41.5. It's down to 39. At this point, this is one where I've been watching. I'm hoping to get 38.5 on the over. I know it sounds crazy, but these two teams, it's one of those games where I feel like there's going to be a lot of offensive production. I feel like there's going to be a lot of struggles on the defensive side.
I give you a face.
But
Sam Howell actually looks pretty good, but Russell Wilson, hopefully you throw more touchdowns than you have bathrooms this year.
Yeah, that's
it
where
was close last year. You did it, but it was close.
If this is a game where things change for Russ, this game's going over. But that's the thing. Do you have faith in Russ? I don't have that much faith in Russ. I'm not telling you to bet this bet. I'm saying I'm leaning over. I didn't place it. I'm not that confident. Like I said, I'm not a big totals better early in the season anyway.
The biggest thing, you got big balls on that coach.
Yeah.
So if that coach tells Russ throw it downfield, Russ is gonna throw it downfield. So we'll see what he does. I mean, he came from having Drew Brees. Let's see what he does with Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
He could change the whole dynamic of the Broncos. I mean, they lost by 1 point last week,
Mm-hmm.
so the whole dynamic could be changed. So we'll see what happens.
And what a better time to do it than at home in Mile High, where you have home field advantage. And it's one of the few stadiums where you actually have home field advantage with this oxygen level at that high elevation against a Washington football team that, not that great.
They lack production on defense.
And that's why I like the over on this game. I think the public's going under because that's what the public does. They just look at week one and they look at what they know. But this is the game where it might change the tide for the Broncos. And if the Broncos change the tide, they could easily score 28 points. I could easily see it 28-14, 28-17. It's going to be a close one. That's why I'm not touching it yet. I'd love to get that 38.5, but I'm not touching that yet.
How's gonna wrap it up, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's a wrap. It's a pretty long.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
hour 15. That was good.
Yeah, so I have one more question for you guys. Where's our day one supporters at? Drop a comment, drop a like, drop any kind of support you can. Share it up. Let's get our name out there. We are going to be doing this every week. We are going to be giving you the best ideas of what's going on in the NFL. You guys keep supporting us. You guys keep bringing us up. Maybe we'll even move farther than that. So show us support. Let us know if you liked it. Let us know how we can improve, and we will do it. We will work together, and we will rock this season. So thank you guys. We appreciate it. Peace out.